Hello everyone, my name is J. Gill and I joined the Bay Area Bioinformatics Forum on Meetup. Within that forum, I attended the digital Meetup, which was hosted by Genentech, and this occurred on October 21st from 4 to 6, and it was not a reoccurring meeting. So the panel for Genentech consisted of 5 people. The first one, her name was Geneva, and she is a principal talent partner who works with Genentech research and early development in order to find talented individuals to work for Genentech. Next, we have Oliver. He is a bioinformatics scientist with a specialization in personalized cancer. He is also a geneticist and computational biologist whose main focus is to fight cancer. Next, we have Suchit. He is a senior scientist and leads a team in bioinformatics for individuals with neoantigen-specific therapy. Next, we have Ravi. He is a bioinformatics lead, and he is a bioinformatician with molecular biology and next-generation sequencing experience. And lastly, we have Alexei. He is in talent acquisition, and he is experienced in the biotechnology industry, and he essentially finds long-term hires for hard-to-fill positions, such as executive positions. So essentially what was said is that there's a large amount of collaboration within Genentech. We mostly discussed how machine learning and AI is used in coding genetics and in order to create personalized cancer treatments. So they use AI in personalized cancer treatments by inputting the genome sequencing of circulating tumor cells, gene expression profiling, pharmacogenomics, and a genomic adjusted radiation dose. So after all 4 of those steps are completed, the AI then processes all that information and optimizes what would be the best personal treatment and medicine for that patient. Along with that, the AI also thinks of any side effects or consequences that could occur because of the personalized combination. So the AI actually uses genetic biomarkers, which are associated with any side effects, and how those biomarkers will negatively affect the patient. So through using thousands of combinations, which are then looked over by a geneticist, they can then validate whether the AI is able to correctly pick the right combination of genomes in order to effectively battle a tumor. Since most of the medicine that Genentech actually makes is personalized to individuals, they have to go through a testing phase in order to see if the combination of drugs is actually successfully able to inhibit the tumor. So actually depending on size of the tumor, they either refer the patient to a surgeon to remove the tumor, but in many cases the tumor is not big enough for a surgeon to remove it, so they have to go through personalized treatment. So after Genentech makes the patient's personalized medicine, they then inject the patient with that treatment, and they closely observe their body for 48 hours to see how their body is reacting to it. After that, the patient is either released to their house or into hospital care, whichever the patient is preferred. So I met with Suchit. Uh, so he is actually a senior scientist who works closely with machine learning and helps them develop their AI in genetic sequencing. So what I asked him is how somebody with a computer science background could move into biotechnology. So what he said is that there are actually many positions in Genentech that use a vast learning of algorithms and artificial intelligence. He said that this base of study is called computational genetics, and he said this is actually very high in demand because they are needed in order to decipher any post-genomic data, which consists of RNA and DNA structures. And as we know, RNA and DNA have millions of combinations, so using artificial intelligence is actually very good to help optimize the amount of time that it takes to decipher the post-genomic data. He also advised me that a strong base in statistics is necessary because when they create the personalized medicine, they do need uh, to determine the rate of success, whether or not that medicine will successfully um, battle the tumor within the patient. So personally, I've always been interested in biotechnology. I wanted to get a more technical background in computers because I wanted to figure out how to write code and things like that. But now that I realize that computer science is used in almost any field, it made me realize about all the opportunities that can be opened up for me if I pursue a computer science degree. So this meetup was actually very helpful because I was able to learn uh, about Genentech's company culture and also all the various positions that they have for people that have a computer science degree, such as myself. So personally, I would like to go again to visit Genentech, but rather than having it over a screen, which doesn't really allow for much audience participation, I feel like it would be much more beneficial to meet face to face, so I could actually see Genentech and meet the people who are running it, essentially. So for my webinar, I actually attended the one that Professor uh, Grew created with Tony. And essentially, what we talked about is what is the hiring process for tech companies. So we broke it down into a 5-step process. So the first step is to apply. So it's important to know where to apply. For example, we talked about using Indeed as one of the sources in which we could send our application out to companies. And then secondly, if the company does like your resume, they will verify you with the initial contact, and this is when the hiring recruiter will reach out to you to verify any information such as work visa or anything else that will inhibit you from working at that company. Secondly, thirdly, if that everything goes well, they will grant you an online interview for computer science majors mostly. This is like software engineering. They will often give you like a task or a test to perform and see how efficient and effective your computer science skills are. And if they are then pleased with that, they will move you on to a phone interview. And this is essentially why an introduction as to why you are a good candidate for that company and what skills you can bring to that company that they might not be able to find. Lastly, if everything goes well, they will grant you an on-site interview. This is before coronavirus. They would invite you into the company, and you would essentially just get a rundown kind of orientation of what the company is, where everything is, and the people that you will be working with. So this is actually very helpful because many individuals don't know how to proceed when they get hired by a tech company or what the whole hiring process is like. So I actually do really like this webinar and help clarify some things that I had some questions about. So for the question that I had relating to my one of the courses that I was taking is in data structures. So in data structures, we're learning a lot about binary trees and hashes, but I feel like these kinds of uses of data structures are very outdated, and many tech companies have either their own version of data or they have a outside source. So, for example, Google uses a software called Homebrew, and Homebrew essentially just stores your data much more effectively. I also found out that Uber actually uses crypto to encrypt sensitive data, and that is done through AES, HMAC, and RSA. And Uber also does use hexagonal grids and hierarchical indexes, which is something that my class does not even cover. And this is actually used in order to optimize the amount of tips and determining whether like a ride is needing a passenger to ride with them. So lastly, I made my GitHub account. So GitHub is actually an American corporation which hosts a platform for software development. It is not limited to software development, however, and how it does this is it uses something called Git, and Git helps to collaborate among multiple individuals, and essentially they could change the source code, they could change anything within the program, and it is done on a it is done across multiple platforms. So if one person does it from here, the whole entire team, if a team is filled with 50 people, they can all see the changes. So this is very useful in software development because there's a lot of code changes if something isn't working, and if something is also not working, they have very good bug tracking software. So GitHub can actually be used for any collaborative projects where individuals are needed to organize their projects and edit wherever needed. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed.